Hello, my paper peeps. Today I want to share with you another Friday flip through, and we're going to be going through some of the albums in my tickle trunk again. So let's get started. When I decided to do this tickle trunk of treasures, I said to myself that I would challenge myself by just trying to find things that I could use to store my mini scrapbooks in. This is a leather notebook cover that I found at a thrift store, and it didn't come with this frame. I actually glued that on there, but I found that and I said, okay, this is what is going to inspire me to create a mini journal or a mini scrapbook for my son. And the stamp that I had, that one inspired me as well. So I thought, putting these together will be amazing. This frame was, I think, from Michael's, from the dollar section of Michael's. And I thought that would be a great way to embellish this book. So as you open it, you can see, again, this was a place for a notebook, which I don't think it came with. And then, you see the pen holder here. But when my kids were growing up, when they were quite young, I spent a lot of time making tags for gifts. And I was into Copic Markers, and I loved some of the mini stamps that I had collected. And one of the things I noticed was, boy, I'm putting a lot of effort into these gift tags that I know will just be looked at and thrown out. So I wanted to save some for myself, and I thought this is the perfect way to create, but also hold on to some of the art that I created. So I didn't feel like it was such a loss, right? So what I did with some of these tags is I placed my favorite quotes or Bible verses on the backs, so that, this obviously is a book for my son. So when he goes through this later on, he actually can be encouraged by some of the words that were written there. Now, this again was not part of the book. This I actually created with We Are Memory Keepers multi-cinch crimper. It has a disc cartridge, a circular cartridge, and this is actually binding wire. So you can see it's been bent out of shape here, but in all honesty, I think it's one of the best purchases you can ever make, especially if you're creating mini DIY journals. And this is a conglomeration of, this paper. My goodness, take a look at this. This is actually wrapping paper. What I did was I actually glued two sides together, and then I stamped on it, and I placed this beautiful image that I had colored with Copic markers. And as always, I like to add different elements to my scrapbooks. Obviously paper clips. Here, I really love wrapping my ribbon with, this one is actually cloth covered wire. I wish I could tell you where I got this one. I'm gonna look it up and then hopefully if I find it, I'm gonna put it in the description box below. This actually is, if you can see, it's stretchy. This was from one of our clothing tags. And I thought, I like that gray, and I'm just gonna hold on to that and use that for a tag. So I always hold on to those. And then here are some paper clips. Okay, so here you have the wrapping paper. This came from a small paper pack that I used as matting, added photos. If you have a son, the whole Cog system, I think, is just incredible to use for your scrapbooks. I don't think it's a waste. You can use it in so many different ways. And you can see I actually used that weathered wrapping paper throughout the album just to give it some consistency. And of course, even though they're Cogs, I still have to place my feminine touches with some gems in the middle. And a lot of the tags and cards that I made sure I kept some of the card fronts so that, again, I can remember what I was crafting and giving away at the time. So quite simple. And that's why I think I continue to scrapbook, because when they're small like this, you don't get bored. I mean, you do the project, you think of a few materials you want to add to it, and then you go, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then, you know what? There's this level of satisfaction and completion to your projects, which I think is the one reason why I continue to do what I do. Okay, next book. This is this whole idea. This one was 2015, so years ago, but chipboards were in. And so I had to take advantage of that. I didn't have a lot of scrapbooking materials, and I thought I'd like this idea of chipboards. You can put them together fairly easily, and it's fast. Now, one of the things I did love was this whole Cog system again for my son. But you can see here, this is I wish I could, you know, this video doesn't do it justice because this is velvet and it's wallpaper. Back in the day, I don't know if they do this now, but when we were looking at designing our home, I spent a lot of time in wallpaper stores, and anything that I thought was kind of interesting, I'd be like, can I have a sample of that? And they graciously gave this to me, and whatever I didn't use or whatever I didn't choose as a material in my house, I thought, you know what? I'm going to use this as a scrapbook material. Like it's beautiful. So anyways, and again, in keeping with the whole Cogs system, this one I think is Paper Rose metal cutting die, but I'll put a link to that in the description box below. I still think you can get this, and you can see all these round trinkets. That's actually from an old necklace. And then here, all I did was I inked the edges with distress ink. This is a huge stencil, one of those really large 12 by 12 stencils. And I didn't use any scrapbook paper in here unless, like, obviously you can see the matting here. My son was into trains at the time. I don't even know why I bought this necklace. Now, in hindsight, I look at it, I'm like, it's ugly. But at the time, fashionably, it was in. So I pulled it apart because I wasn't wearing it anymore and added it to via rings and old chains, and added it as attachments to attach each of the train cars, which I thought was quite neat. Added some sparkles. Then I used just like some Nouveau accents for the buildings so that these elements would not damage the next page. I just cut out some acetate and put that in between. And if you have a grandson or a son, this is one of the fun things, is getting them to do multiple faces in one sitting. I think that was probably another motivation of mine, is I had, I think, 12 photos of him doing these funny faces, and I thought that would be a perfect way to catalog that moment. And again, simple, easy. Well, I wouldn't say it was easy, but I mean, it was the amount of materials that I used, you know, could all fit on one desk. And here is just a wooden embellishment. Obviously something to say, oh yeah, see, it says here, I call this the Many Faces of Fun, made from an old necklace, scrap paper, wallpaper samples, and obviously love. Like, oh boy, like, I mean, this, to me, this is one of my favorite albums because it was just so unique. I really hope you enjoyed this Friday flip through. If you want to see other projects in my Tickle Trunk, then you'll probably want to watch this playlist here, which has me going through all the scrapbook journals within this Tickle Trunk. So I hope you have a fantastic week. Take care, and we'll see you in those other videos. Bye.